What is up, and welcome to Market Psychology 101, where we look for value in the markets when there's fear and are cautious when there's green. In today's video, we are going to be taking a look at some of the top Bitcoin mining stocks as well as their charts and doing some technical analysis on those. Now, taking a look at fear and greed, we are still in extreme fear in both stocks and crypto. Did a video talking about this a little bit today. Extreme fear has pretty much bottomed out. However, sometimes this can be a leading indicator. So hopefully this fear is matching up with the bottom like it did in August of 24 during the yen carry trade unwind. But if not, like the other two times in February and before the cycle bottom in the summer of 22, these can be leading indicators. So just keep that in the back of your mind. As far as seasonality goes, November, usually the strongest month for crypto. But we have pointed out how in 2013, we had nearly a 500% return during the month of November. So that's skewed the data a little bit. Overall this year, I think when we just take a look at 2025 overall, we can see that the average percent up, it really isn't that much. This year has been somewhat flat, slightly upward. But as far as these mining stocks go, the reason why we like these mining stocks is because when they run, they can get you better returns than that of even Bitcoin at times, should you get in at the right time. So let's start off with a little bit of Bitcoin analysis, and then we'll jump into the mining stocks. Right now, you can see Bitcoin, I have on this Fibonacci retracement from the 21 high to the 22 low, and you can see that Bitcoin is right at the 1236, and this light blue line, that is the 100-week moving average. So we want to see price stabilize here while other indicators show that we are reversing, getting some positive divergence and getting some momentum to the right area. So right now, like the stochastic RSI, it's bottomed out. We want to see this start to come upwards and stay in positive territory. Even the regular RSI, this is one of maybe the most bullish case scenarios. We can see how the regular RSI has been very bottomed out only a handful of times. When we are this oversold, we are near local bottoms. So the RSI getting completely into oversold territory. We had this bearish divergence for a year and a half, and we have diverged. This is playing out right now. So if this is a local bottom, and if Bitcoin can hold on to this 100-week moving average, that'll be very good for crypto. Now, there does exist the opportunity or the chance where sometimes when we get bullish divergence, even on the RSI, it is possible price could go lower. And I think the max possible low territory would be around 68 to 70K. However, I feel like this is the most likely area for Bitcoin to hold. One more thing before I get into the mining stocks analysis is, this structure. I've been looking at this price structure a lot and asking myself, where have I seen this before? Are we waiting for a head and shoulders to play out? When have I seen this last in Bitcoin? And really what stands out to me is the price action in 2023. We see how we get this higher high here, comes down, retests that 200-week moving average, and then Bitcoin starts to blast out of here. So, if we are to see some similar type of fractal as we did here, then this could be the low. Anyways, without further ado, let's get into IRIN. Remember, these mining stocks, the reason I'm talking about Bitcoin is when Bitcoin's doing positive, the mining stocks do very positive. And we see a lot of green across many of our top mining stocks. So let's first get into IRIN, the top Bitcoin mining stock. This has a current market cap of a little under 14 billion. It was at, I think, almost 17 billion. Now, IRIN, you can see here, it did top out at that, I think that's the 2618. So we have our fib off log scale. You see the 2618. And anytime you're getting into some of these stocks or cryptos, let's say you bought in at $5, all right, and you are all the way up near $70, $80. I think it is silly not to at least take some level of profits. Now, IRIN, it did hit that 2618. It has come back down, and you can see it is now at the 1618. We also have this 20-week moving average and the 236 pullback. So I have a micro fib in here where I have drawn it from low to high. We have a 236 pullback, a lot of fib support, moving average support. Those are all good things. Now, if you believe that the Bitcoin cycle is over, then mining stocks probably aren't a good play for you. Or maybe you're a trader and you're like, you know what, I'm just going to keep shorting this. However, even if you were a believer that the cycle's over, we can still get dead cat bounces and things such as that. So I want to see, again, looking at the other charts and indicators, what does the stochastic go? To me, I get a little bit nervous that this thing hasn't totally bottomed out yet. So, that would be strike one. RSI, can this thing hold on? This is on the weekly. Right now, we are underneath that yellow line. That's never a good thing. You want to see us get through the yellow line. So we're looking for some stabilization. See a lot of RSI structure here around the midpoint, around 50. So that's saying, maybe a little lower to go. Maybe we see iron settle at around $40. And of course, the MACD, I think this is another good indicator. And right now, as far as the MACD, I do like that it's still in positive territory. This thing is very overbought, though, and we see it about to cross negative. This could turn red, but even with that being said, as long as the MACD maintains momentum on the positive side up here and not getting to the negative side too much, that is good. But we might see the MACD do a lower high. We could see iron get to higher prices by then. We'll see. But all these indicators do have me a little bit nervous. So I don't see confirmation yet. If you're a dollar cost averager, maybe you're saying to yourself, well, this is some good value. However, since our most recent low, you would still be buying at a 720% premium, right? So remember, iron, it pumped 1,300% from this point. And even at this level, to me, I'm not chasing iron here. I do like iron for a lot of reasons, but I'm not going to buy it. How much of a percent is this off its all-time high? I'm not going to be buying it, only 40% down. Here is the time to buy it, in my opinion. If it goes up higher, great. I would love that. I'd love if iron even did a 2x from here. So, maybe a little bit of a DCA here if you truly believe in it and see that it still has legs. But otherwise, I'd feel more nervous about this one. Anywho, let's get into some of the other mining stocks. Cypher, let's see how this one's holding up. And I also want to see, just comparing all these mining stocks together, do they tell a similar story? So Cypher, a lot like iron. This one hit the 1618 though at around $24, and it's settling at its recent all-time high. Or not recent, sorry, it's all-time high back from 2021. That's the gray line, and you can see it even hit that 20-week moving average. I am curious, what does the daily look like? So the daily even getting down pretty much right to the 100-day moving average, but we're running into resistance at the 50 and the 20. So if that holds, watch out. Anytime you see stocks or cryptos, people sometimes are, if you are worried, hey, that was the top and you're looking to sell the bounce, which area are you looking for? It could be any of those moving averages. You could be looking at maybe your bull market support band. Let's go to the weekly on this one. So right now, it's still above the bull market support band. So if it holds 13 or higher, that's a good sign for Cypher. But let's say this thing falls lower to the, the 50-week moving average and then bounces up and gets rejected. Those are some of the things I look for on some of these mining stocks. So we are getting a little bit of support similarly with Cypher as we did iron. TeraWulf all the way up in the number 3 spot. I remember when this thing was way down near the lower 10. Let's take a look at Wolf. I'm a fellow Wolf and Cypher holder, like many of you out there. And Wolf, we talked about this before we got to the upper end of this channel, the 786. Both those, this ascending channel, 786, both those things had me nervous. Now, we did a low to high fib, a lot like iron. We've come down to the 20-week, the 236, pullback at 1034. I'm sure the daily is going to give us, a lot like Cypher. We have very similar charting across the board. You do not want to stay under the 50-day and the 20-day. If that 236 breaks, I'd be even worried about Wolf coming down to its macro golden pocket. Let's see. Yep, that's the 618 to the 65, right in this area of $8 to $9. We do have the 200-day moving average there, but again, looking at the MACD, if we're seeing more room for downside, let's go to the weekly. I mean, we're about to get red MACD, a negative cross here. Again, if we stay in this positive territory, that's good, but I want to see the MACD play out and sort of bottom, even the stochastic, start to come up, as I showed you before. The RSI, the regular RSI start to come up. The stochastic, this isn't even bottom yet. So to me, that says look for some level of support wherever those indicators start to bottom out as well. I'd be looking at that golden pocket realistically, being patient, maybe that 50 week in that 618 there at 824. So, it sucks in the near term, but if you love these mining stocks, you're looking for good discounts, that'd be an area to watch for. Now, let's take a look at Riot. And before I give you Riot's short-term price action or technical analysis, something I will alert you to is how in the past these mining stocks have been very correlated with Bitcoin's price action movement. So you see how Bitcoin tops, the mining stocks move with Bitcoin. Now, this cycle overall, if you've been, look at that, that's pretty spot on. If you've been looking at any of the research on these mining stocks, some of the ways these mining stocks are making more money is they're starting to split their resources from being Bitcoin miners to also doing AI, data center, cloud services. They're trying to make money in any way, shape, and form they can, which is smart. And for some of these stocks, they can earn more revenue that way. So being not completely tied to Bitcoin, if they're going to earn more revenue, that's a great thing. Sometimes we look at marketwatch.com, look at these balance sheets, and for mining stocks like Mara and Riot, they have some pretty intriguing balance sheets. So some homework to look at. But as far as Riot currently, we see high to low. Riot had a 618 retrace, got to the 618, got rejected. So that kind of sucks we didn't get through there. We have all these moving averages, though. So far, the 50s holding, got a wick down to the 200 and the 100. Now, what I'm going to do here, it's not the most perfect descending channel, but we are going to stretch this out a little bit. And the reason why is I'm looking for, if Riot has similar MACD, which I assume similar stochastic. There you see the MACD is already ahead of what we've seen for some of the other mining stocks. So by the time that plays out, we might see Riot get down to around this $11 area. If we see Bitcoin doing very well and possibly getting above some of those classic retrace levels, and we see miners sort of settling in at these important levels, their stochastic flipping, their MACD staying in positive territory, as I was showing you a couple times, keeping that positive momentum, then we might have some really good areas for some discount opportunities on some of these miners, especially these mining stocks like Riot or Mara that have not run as much as an Iron, a Cypher, or even a Wolf a little bit. So I do think there is some very good potential for some of these, Marathon. They have the second most amount of Bitcoin behind MicroStrategy. I think, if you are still on the bullish side, you still believe in 150, 200K Bitcoin, like I do, then I think there's some mining stocks with great potential, such as Marathon, maybe even Hive. So yeah, do your own homework on those. Next, let's go to Cores. Cores, a newer mining stock, and this one did get above that former all-time high territory. You can see how it got to the 1236, pretty close to that. Came down to, all right, let's make sure I'm giving you accurate information there. I said the 1236, but we have to take our fib off log. Yep, perfectly at the 1236. All right, so anytime we're underneath the former all-time high, though, we do have to put our fib back on log scale, so everything's even there. And you can see that so far Cores is holding up support, this on the weekly, above its 786. Let's go to the daily. So it has chopped through all these moving averages. We have a negative cross there, the 20 through the 50. You don't want to see this lose support here. Otherwise, we're going to get, some of those prior death crosses, the 50 under the 100, maybe even worse. So the 786, the 200-day moving average, This is very important. If Coors loses that, next I would be taking a look at, there's a lot of price structure here in the golden pocket around that $12 area. So again, just as I was showing you with the MACDs and the stochastic RSIs, we're just going to take a look at this. And I mean, this is a very similar story. So the strongest mining stocks, they are up here where they haven't flipped negative yet. But as we're going down the list to the mining stocks with a smaller market cap, we see these negative MACD crosses. Now, again, we want to keep momentum on the positive side. So if it bottoms, let's say the MACD moving average, the blue and the orange, bottoms out here and we start getting those light red rectangles as we flip in the positive area, to me that says it's a buy the dip opportunity, whether the MACD does a low or high, whether this is a high or low, who knows? We're not here to predict the future, but if you like any of these mining stocks, and that's what we see momentum stay in the positive territory, then yeah, I would be very intrigued. I don't think, so far, I don't think we've quite confirmed the bottom on these mining stocks yet, but I am going to be patient and watching these. That's why we do this analysis week by week, so we can catch some of these. Next, let's go to Marathon Digital Holdings. Out of all the mining stocks, this one has the most amount of Bitcoin on its books. Now, Mara, you can see from high to low, and this is another one of those mining stocks that show how, these things move with Bitcoin. Again, some of these mining stocks, they are switching over to AI data center services, cloud services, so do your own research on some of that as far as how bullish you want to be on some of these. Iron and Cypher got into the AI game, and it's really paid off. But Mara, what we see here, even if we're just measuring those candle bodies, the highest candle body, you can see that Mara is in this descending channel, and it's at the 3A2. So we have some of those wicks back there, candle bodies here. Yeah, I mean, no matter which way you slice it, you need this 3A2 to hold up. If we lose this 3A2 for Mara, then we're looking at the 236. And anytime you're under the 50-week and you're under the 3A2, you can always technically put in new lows. Now, something that we can take a look at here, just to kind of show that this is 2017. That was the bull run from back then. We can do a high to low fib right here. Actually, that's pretty good. You can see how when Mara died off, it got rejected by the 50, never got above the 3-2, and it did put in a new low there. And so this is how charting works. It's how we change. You get above the 3-2. Hey, now that's bullish. It's above the 50-week. So great example of how the 50-week, that's the orange line, is the dividing line between being bullish or bearish. And you even see how Mara rode that 20 down until things change. Now, what is curious to me about Mara on this chart, I've been talking a lot about the Fed switching to quantitative easing soon. This is the U.S. Central Bank balance sheet. In the background, here's a ticker, USC BBS. So great chart to have overlaid. You see how when the Fed was switching to quantitative easing, we had some divergence, and then it eventually took off. So the Fed is going to switch. Are we going to get a little bit of divergence like last time? Maybe Mara down a little bit lower, possibly to that 236. So again, watch these indicators, all of them. The MACD, what does this one say? That's negative. It's getting into negative territory as well. I mean, even all this momentum, to me, you can see it right here. We have lower lows, so all the momentum of this MACD is still going downwards. Now, when we see this flip up, are we going to get a higher low or a lower low? If we get a lower low, that could be where Mara is bottoming out. So, set your levels. If you believe in these mining stocks, I do. And even if we get to a 236, which does suck, I would be I'm tempted right now. I'd say now is not a bad time to dollar cost average in. I'm waiting for structure, waiting for momentum to flip to make sure that we're not just catching a falling knife. But if Mara does get here, this 236 at 670, that'd be an area that I'd have a hard time missing out on, even if it were to go lower. I wouldn't mind at that point, even the point it is right now. Anyways, let's move on. Let's go to, we'll wrap it up here. How about we do Clean Spark, And then we'll do our 3 small caps here that are about $1 billion market cap. So we'll do Bitfarms, Hive, and BitDigital. We can't do all of them, otherwise these videos would take forever. But anyways, let's first go to CleanSpark. And CleanSpark entering back into the channel. This would be something I'd be worried about a little bit with Riot. We see that negative MACD right there. Now we are in positive territory. So again, we see this negative momentum here. So far we're getting higher lows, higher highs. We would want to see a MACD flip and stay in the positive territory and show something of a base. So right now, holding on to those moving averages. Hopefully we get closes above that channel, the moving averages, maybe even the 618. So this whole area between 11 and 12 bucks, if we get a nice MACD flip, a higher low, then I'll be liking CleanSpark wherever it is there. Let's go to Bitfarms, BitDigital, and Hive. Bitfarms, above its moving averages right there, negative MACD flip. So, I'm going to be patient. See if we get down anywhere between this $1.90 to 216 area. I'm going to be patient, wait for this to play out. So, speaking of momentum, you can see the MACD moving average there. Negative momentum, positive, negative. We are positive right now, albeit getting a negative cross. So, again, I think we need to be patient, see this move play out. Hopefully we stay in the positive territory, get a higher low there. So let's go to BitDigital and then Hive. Yeah, BitDigital, more of the same. Now you do see how on some of these lower market cap mining stocks, not as much strength or momentum. Overall, this one's more choppy, kind of like the chart shows. This is a channel. It's not a descending channel, ascending channel. Broke through that trend line, though, as I showed you guys before. And this lower area of the channel, you could take a look at $1.70 to $2. What's it at? $2.20. If you like BitDigital, any of these prices, not bad. But again, where is momentum going to be as this chops sideways? Is it going to kind of lose this whole accumulation structure as well? Get down to the 236. So if you like BitDigital, anywhere in the high $1, low $2 area, even right now, I don't think it's the worst. But this move is still playing out, no confirmation yet. And as far as Hive, what do we got on Hive? A lot of these negative MACD crosses. So, again, as far as the momentum, I do like how we're in the positive territory. Hopefully we stay there and get a higher low with that MACD moving average. But with it crossing down lately, eating through those moving averages, this 236 has been a popular area. The middle of that channel right here is at about 240. So anywhere like 260 or so, I'd say juicy price for Hive. So what do we see? We see a lot of confluence over all these mining stocks. We see the MACDs getting ready to flip or already flipping negative. Nothing confirmed to the upside. So as far as how I'm taking a look at this, yes, we're getting a little bit of relief from the massive sell-off, but I don't quite think that the sell-off is done yet. I want to see things settle down, be a little bit patient. As one of you wonderful subscribers said in the last live stream, maybe we're getting Black Friday crypto discounts across the board. I like the positive mindset. I like the growth mindset you use. So thank you for that. I do like that. But yeah, I don't think these moves are done yet. And again, it depends on your outlook on the market, whether you're a 4-year cyclist waiting to sell a rebound. Watch those moving averages. Let's go back to iron. Watch those moving averages, like the 20. You get under those. You could stay under those. Remember what I showed you with Mara. And if you bought any of these, if you believe it's over and you have a philosophy like I do, like a trailing stop loss, or, sell signals, here's one of the buy sell signals I really like. If your stock has already ran up 1,400%, even though it's down a little bit, if you're overall in big profits and you believe the cycle's over, then that's a question for you to decide. Now, I'm still in the log regression camp that, we have higher to go. And if Bitcoin goes higher, mining stocks will do good too. But we are bearish right now in Bitcoin. No two ways about it. And, it's up to you what you decide to do in this bear market. If you are looking for rebounds and moving averages to sell, cool. Or if you're like me and you're looking to accumulate at certain levels, believing that we are in discount territory before going higher, it's up to you. You got to risk it for the biscuit, put your money where your mouth is, all those analogies or, sayings, if you will. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. I'm trying to get out as many of these videos as I can because it's Thanksgiving week. I'm thankful for all of you. Appreciate all you subscribers, all the likes, comments, everything. Hope you all have a fantastic Thanksgiving week. Have a great day. Take care.